Ready. Well, hey, I want to go ahead and just get started here and just, some of you may have to bounce out. We may have some other people joining in. That's totally okay. We don't typically get into the meat of our coaching call this morning until about maybe the 10-minute mark. But really excited. We're going to have Harley be presenting on a concept that some of you are probably familiar with called the purple cow. Developed by a guy named Seth Godin. He's one of the world's leading marketers. Had a big company that they sold to Yahoo for 30 million, written a number of books. One of those books is Purple Cow. If you're like, Purple Cow, what the heck does that mean? Stay tuned. We'll let you know. And then we're going to have Jonathan. We call him Rudy, by the way. Sometimes I say the word Rudy and people are like, who are you talking about? That's Jonathan Rude. We call him Rudy. And he's going to be presenting on how to actually practically implement the Purple Cow into your business by doing something by a comparison chart, but even a little bit deeper than that. So I want to start off with some wins. One of my clients who can't be there, I want to brag, who can't be here this morning because they're in Tampa, Florida. Their $5 million construction business is still running in Nashville, Tennessee, while they're vacationing in Tampa, Florida for the entire month of January. And the thing that stinks about this client is that they get to Florida, find out they have COVID, have to spend the first week and a half vacationing in Florida while COVID. But here's the thing. These guys, it's called Affordable Building Concepts, husband and wife duo, Mike and Julie Mathis. And they are called Nashville's backyard builders. So they focus in building garages, carports, pool houses, anything that you would build in the backyard, decks. And last year, they did about 2.5 million, and they were able to squeak out about a net profit of just over 100,000. Not very good. We don't call that very good. At a $2.5 million business, we want to see at least a profit of 500,000, a 20% net profit. Here's the cool thing about what we did with these guys. Last year, what did we all face as contractors? We faced prices changing rapidly.
Oh my God, yeah.
We faced sometimes not even being able to get materials because they're back ordered with manufacturers, right? We experienced some significant challenge, and then we have to not only stay on top of it, but they have agreements with customers for estimates that were done 3 months before because they're so booked out. They start the project 3 months later, but the price of lumber went up 5 times in between that time period. So what did we do? We dug really deep into a concept called profit first. We also really looked at their collections, how they were collecting. We really dove deep into their pricing and how to better stay on top of their pricing when rapid changes do occur. All that to say is this: they grew their revenue from 2.5 to $4.8 million in 2021, just in 1 year. And here's the coolest thing: their profits grew by 1,000%. We didn't do any really new marketing. We didn't launch a new website. We didn't run new ads. We kept all of that marketing, branding the same. We just focused on their financials, and their profits grew. They were able to finish 2021 with I think it was $4.8 million. And then they did just over 450,000 in net profit. So I wanted to celebrate that. If you're wondering how to get those same type of results, that's what we do. Keep on coming. And I think, Bryce, do you have a win to share from a client? You got to unmute your mic, buddy.
Yeah, I do, because Jonathan and I are in the same room. It gets some feedback, so I'm speaking through Jonathan's mic, but you'll see me.
I gotcha.
Yeah, so one of my guys, Ryan Witten of Witten Plumbing, he's not here this morning, but has had an incredible year. We were meeting yesterday, and he had his 3rd record-breaking month at the end of last year with December. So we broke 3 records throughout the year of 2021, and he ended up with the year literally doubling his revenue overall. And to me, the coolest thing about that meeting with Ryan is Of course, the numbers are there. Revenue going from about 200,000 to over 400,000, on our way to crest 500,000 this year and well beyond that. But to me, the biggest thing is that two really important lessons. One is that he's doubled his revenue, but he hasn't doubled his stress. That to me is huge, that he didn't get into a place where the company's twice the size, but now his anxiety is twice the size. Huge. And then the second thing is that he always thought that he had to hire the right guys right out of the gate. But we went through 3 sets of 2 plumbers throughout the whole year as well. So we went through multiple rounds of finding good guys that seemed like they were going to fit. We got really good at establishing our training process, so it didn't take forever to get people from hired to being productive. And that's what led to being able to have a crushing year. And so huge win with him.
That's awesome.
I was not able to be here this morning, but yeah.
That's awesome. Again, it's the focus every week. It's the baby steps. It's the looking at the most important things that make the biggest impact. If there's something stressing you out, if there's something that you feel like you have a recurring challenge, oh, I can't find guys. Oh, I can't get my guys trained. Whatever it may be, it all goes back to, do we have a system, and how is that system working? Before we continue here, and I'm really excited to get into today's topic. I'm really excited to hear what Harley has to share here. But anyone on the call have some cool wins, either from last year, maybe you weren't able to be on last week's call and you want to share yearly, annual wins, or even a big win for this week. Anyone else have some wins that they want to share in their business? Roger, it looked like you're about to say something.
No.
I can't.
I will. Yeah. So, we had our goal of 1.2 million for 2021, and we, thanks to Redmond growth, we hit 1.75, I believe. And it's great to shatter your goal. And we had great profits. And we got great guys. We put in a system that to accommodate growth, and we're starting to really see fruition, because we had some training issues that just had to. I mean, we bought trucks, hired guys, always take some training, because we have great culture here, and everyone gets along well, supports each other, been able to really grow with teamwork, and also the profit first system's awesome. It's helped me sleep at night. I don't have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and check my computer or check my bank account. So yeah, it's nice.
That's awesome. Nice. Yeah, and profit first, if you're curious what that is, that's a system that our entire team is certified in. We've been trained and tested. It's a cash flow management system that guarantees profit on every single sale. That was Mike Bolte. I've been honored to work with Mike Bolte for about 3 or 4 years now. He owns Lakeshore Plumbing in Oklahoma City. And Mike, I appreciate you sharing, but I also just want to give credit to Mike where credit is due. One of the things that Mike does super well is he focuses on creating a great culture. I think most of the year, Mike, you were riding around a 20% net profit for most months of the year. I think we average around 19 or 20% at the end of the year. I know we're waiting for the final P&L from Jessica. But something I've seen Mike do is he pays himself well. He makes sure he takes care of his family well. He makes sure he's able to use some of that to buy cool stuff. I almost don't want to share what he's into. Hobbyist. Second Amendment rights is what Mike is into. I'll just put it that way. I know a lot of other clients on this call is into that too. I see Roger laughing. Roger also likes to use his profits to build AR-15s. Anyway, that's all I'll say on it. But one of the things that Mike does really well is he invests those profits into the culture. Plumbers, they're hard to retain, they're hard to find. So what does he do? He makes sure he not only gives them company van and tools and cell phone and tablets and all this stuff, he makes sure he gives his guys health care. He makes sure he gives his guys bonuses. He's generous, especially with the senior level guys with taking time off. So he really invests in his culture well. And Mike, appreciate you sharing. Anyone else? I don't want to be that awkward teacher in the room that just is silent while waiting on the students.
Hey, Robert, let me mention just real quickly here. Redmond Growth implements all the things that we coach you guys in. So we do profit first. And so I've got a pretty good size fourth quarter estimate. All you guys are making this payment here on the 18th of January for you that are paying it. But just to have the money already there set aside is really cool. And so that's Redmond Growth is applying that, and it is allowing me, Mike, to sleep a little bit better as well too. And especially when you become a stud muffin like you, Mike, I mean, you're making so much profit, it might even turn you into Republican. Who knows? Who knows? I don't know. I probably shouldn't make political comments like that, you guys. Just want to see if you guys were listening. So
Yeah.
anyways, go ahead, Robert.
Okay, so what I want to do, if anyone, does anyone have a pressing win they want to share something big? Going once, going twice, sold. Harley, why don't you take away and share your screen, do what you need here, and present on the Purple Cow.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Robert. I think, Bryce, you're going to be managing the slides for me, right? Okay.
Correct.
Sweet. Well, this topic, the Purple Cow, knowing your value. I see some of y'all on the call that I've been working with for a while. We have definitely gone into this, and those that have worked with us have gone into this. But just like any good thing, it's great to get a reminder conversation, because over time, people naturally drift. And so it's likely after this conversation that I'm going to start and Rudy's going to finish with, that you'll be reminded of a couple of things that we need to do to make sure to really be even more successful this year. And so to start this, as Robert said, this is based on a book called Purple Cow by Seth Godin. Bryce, you can click on the next one. This is one of our core books that we read as a company for our work. And so I highly suggest it. It's a small book packed with knowledge. And I want to give the backstory of why the heck this book was titled Purple Cow. So if you go to the next slide, Seth Godin talks about how there should be an image that pops up next. But Seth Godin talks about how he was traveling in France with his family, and he was driving along the countryside area, and all around him in these pastures, he saw hundreds of thousands of cows just on these pastures around him, which is remarkable to someone who's a city guy like himself. And it would be to me if I was driving around seeing tons of cows everywhere. But you know, they're cows. We know what they look like. So over a few minutes, he's like, okay, well, yeah, it's the same old cows everywhere. We get the point. But then Seth thinks to himself and he says, you know what would be crazy is if one of these cows was purple, like it just stuck out and looked like a purple cow. Man, that would be crazy. I would want to stop my car in the middle of the road. I want to go and take pictures with this purple cow, share it with my friends and be like, oh my gosh, look at this purple cow. And so what his whole point is with this story is that Seth Godin is a marketing guy and a business guy. And he's known that for decades, we have been preached the same message of, oh, you just got to get in front of your customers. But the problem is that so many people are getting in front of customers with the same messages and the same branding and the same kind of value that it's been diluted. It's been an overcrowded marketplace. And because of that, saying the same messages and doing the same things that everyone else is doing and just buying more advertising is not as worth it as it should be. And so what we need to make sure to do is to make sure our company is sticking out like a purple cow in the crowded market. And just to really lean into how true this is, Bryce, if you could go to the next one, I've got some stats to share, because at this point now, consumers don't have time for generic lame marketing, because the stats show that online, there's a lot of articles that suggest that we will see or hear at least 4,000 advertisements every single day, which sounds nuts, but 4,000 advertisements. The next point is on average, people are inundated with like push notifications on their phone. 46 times people are getting a buzz on their phone all day, every day to distract them. And there's only very few of them that actually think this is useful or helpful to their lives. Next point is experts also say that the emails are getting blocked up as well. I mean, you guys are business guys. You probably walked in today and there were dozens upon dozens of emails that you had to check. Well, it turns out on average, people get 120 emails every day that they send and receive. That is a lot of messages. And then on top of that, they did consumer reports, and it turns out nearly 3 out of 4 people find that there are too many advertisements out there. They just can't handle it. It's annoying. It's not helpful to them. And that's what they communicate as well, is that almost half of these people think that the ads are irrelevant to their wants and needs. And on top of all this, just getting outside advertising, over half of all of us are stressed and worried on a daily basis as consumers, which makes us even more likely to ignore the messages and ignore what we're trying to sell. And at the end of the day, if customers that we work with or they see us online can't find anything that makes us valuable or stand out, it just boils down to price. And this is one of the first conversations we have with business owners, is they talk about, oh, well, customers, they just care about price. Well, yeah, of course they do, but they also care about a company that's going to show up on time, that's got great reviews, and is a standout company in the crowd of all the other service contractors. And this is another problem that a lot of the business owners have when they start with us, is we know that they're great, and they know that they're great. They know that they do a great job. They know that customers like working with them, but they're just not getting enough business in the door, and they're not selling their work as profitably as they should because they feel nervous about charging too much, because they're scared of scaring away customers. And so if you really are great at what you do, how do you get people to notice you? Well, first of all, as the next point will show, you got to, first of all, take time to just time out and write down why you actually stand out from the competition. And it can't be the same points as, oh, we have great integrity, oh, our customer service is great, and that's it. Because guess what, guys? You know that everyone else is saying the same thing. So again, you're just a normal cow in the pasture. So take time to really think about what makes you stand out. And that's what Jonathan Rude's going to help you with next, right here in this meeting. The second point is online reputation, reviews, referrals, testimonials are everything now. I mean, we will annoy our business owners with how much time we talk about this, but it's just so true that one of the stats I put on here, that's the next click, is that 93% of customers are reading online reviews before buying a product. And I know it'll take some time sometimes to be able to show up on the top of Google or to get the kind of notice or reach you want, but at the end of the day, if you're talking with customers and you tell them you've got great reviews and you show them real testimonials from customers, and that speaks volumes. And that's part of the next point, is we need to package our services better than everyone else. You know, are you presenting great graphic designs and documentation with the customers that it's the sales presentation is way better than what the competitors are doing? And then speaking of the sales presentation, you got to educate the customer about why you're different. Customers are not just going to intuitively know that you're a great company to work with. And this is one of the hiccups that some of the business owners have with us, is they feel squeamish about talking about why they're great, because they think they don't want to be too showy. They don't want to be pushy. They don't want to puff themselves up. But that's not the point here. The point is that you're the expert and the customer has no idea how to install carpet in their house or how to make sure they build that cabinet for their kitchen. And so you're there as an advisor to let them know that, hey, no, you called the right company here, because this is how we do our work. And this is why other customers have come to us, because of these issues. And in presenting a great package and having great reviews, you got to nail down all the processes. I mean, just write down every step about how you would do everything, because you want this to scale to be a multi-million-dollar company. Well, you got to make sure every one of your guys are doing exactly what you do. And I know that there are guys on here that have proven that point. They've worked with us for years and done a great job at that. And this can happen with anybody as quickly as they want it to. And then I think there's one or two more points here. Yeah, and then finally, just make every customer interaction great. And you know, there's some of you that'll be on this call or that will work with where you just don't know how you stand out. You haven't really dealt with a lot of other competitors or don't know what's normal. Well, for one, you talk with us, but two, you also just mystery shop the competition. Have a relative of yours hire a couple of your competitors to do work, and then they just take notes on everything they do. And then you get the feedback, and then you say to yourself, okay, well, this is what they're doing. How can I make myself 3 times better than what they're doing? And how they present themselves, how they do the sales process, how they look everywhere online. And at the end of the day, if you do that, it's undeniable that you're going to grow faster than you can believe. So I want to end with this quote here from Seth Godin in his book: in a crowded marketplace, fitting in is failing. And so over this time here and the rest of this call, Jonathan Rood's going to talk to you about a comparison chart about how you can figure out how to not fit in. Because if you are just fitting in and looking like everybody else, it's, as he says, fitting in is failing. So, Rudy, take it away.
Real quick, again, guys, what we're talking about here is this is especially true for contractors. Maybe your team in the field is having a hard time selling those larger ticket items. Maybe you as an owner feel like you're the only one who can really rely, that you can really rely on yourself to do a lot of the sales activity. Perhaps you're dissatisfied with your current lead generation. You know, all this stuff is stuff that we all face every day. And what we're getting at is you're absolutely going to continue to have these problems if your team and yourself as the owner isn't blasting out on your website, in your documentation, in your sales presentation to your customers, in a sales interaction, even if you're a service business. If you're not really clearly communicating those core characteristics of why people should choose you. Redmond Growth, for some reason, I don't know why this is, we just naturally attract really high quality clients. Like the clients that we work with do a great job of offering their services to their customers. But a lot of times we are doing a poor job of communicating really what's causing us to stand out. And we're getting into arguments with our customers over a price that we know is worth it. That's absolutely a great service, but the customer doesn't get it. Why? Because they just think you're like everyone else. There's nothing that's making us stand out. And one person who does this really, really well is actually Roger Patterson. This is probably the client, the single best client. Roger Patterson is on the call. owns Rogers Plumbing based in Austin, Texas. Something that Roger does, and he was doing this even before he joined Redmond Gruth, is before his service techs who are doing plumbing jobs, before they even begin the job, he has them go through what's called a credibility statement, where the tech distinguishes what the tech's background, so how many years of experience, the licenses, the type of experience that they've had, but also he goes through the core things about Rogers Plumbing that separates him from the competition. And I think, Roger, your plumbing techs typically do what? 30, 40, sometimes $50,000 a month, right? Oh, he's on. Yeah. He's giving me the nod. Yes. So anyway, one of the great ways that he's able to do that is by this concept right here. He knows what separates him, but you can't just know it. You've got to communicate it. Rudy, can you talk us through some practical ways? If we're having a hard time figuring out what makes us stand out, how do we figure that out, Rudy?
All right, well, I hope you guys aren't afraid of some excitement here, because we're going to get into this. So the first thing you have to do is establish your unique value proposition. Now, here's a scenario that, may or may not come, maybe more than, 5 times a day, but it's, if you receive a quote, or if I received a quote as a customer, whether it's for a remodeling project or a water heater, and I get this quote from 2 other competitors, your competitors, and they're all at the same price. Why should I go with you? What immediately comes to mind? It could be great reasons or very poor reasons. So what I want to walk you through is some of what demonstrates this value the best. And sometimes to know what works real well, you have to know what are some poor reasons. So I hope no one here is easily offended, because I'm going to pull out some pretty lame reasons here right off the bat. But
offend us, Rudy. Go ahead. We want to be offended. It's Thursday morning, 9:30. Go ahead and offend us.
All right, so here we go. Who has ever said one of these statements? You've got to be bold here and just raise your hand if you hear yourself on this. But you don't say this anymore. You used to say this. So, well, we're locally owned and operated. All right, we're family-owned business. We're professional. We're simply the best in town. We have great customer service. We have top-notch quality. At the end of the day, we care about our customers, and we'll make sure you're happy. And, there's nothing wrong with these statements on their own. Well, actually on their own, they are wrong. You want to make sure to back up each one of these statements and explain to the customer why this matters to them. Why is it going to bring value to them? And here's well, first off, has anyone ever said this before? Any of those statements?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, here's another one that I really like. You should choose us because we're great communicators. Who doesn't communicate to their customers? The reason why these are lame is because everyone says them. You know who else is a family-owned business? Walmart. Doesn't mean anything.
Exactly, which brings me right to my next point. Why are these poor reasons? Why are these reasons doing a poor job of selling your product or service? First off, everyone says it. It doesn't separate you. It doesn't make you that purple cow in the herd of black and white cows. You're fitting in very well, and you're failing when you're saying we're locally owned. We're family owned. There's nothing wrong with those things. The only thing is it fits you in very well with everybody else. And that's not what we want. That's why I put, well, we'll get into that, but just a quote by Seth Godin. He talks about you're either remarkable or invisible. You make the choice. Here's the second reason why those statements just aren't good enough for beautiful clients like you. These are puffery statements. These sound good, but they're just not grounded in any kind of tangible fact, any tangible guarantee, any reason that these will be, that these actually demonstrate strong value.
Real quick, Rudy, Matthew, I've noticed you've been raising your hand.
Well, I've been playing with it, trying to figure out how to make this thing work so I could chime in on that. about the
Okay.
communication thing. You would not believe it, but I have heard many times from customers that never called me back. They came out and looked at it, never heard anything back from them. I hear that stuff all the time.
Yep.
So, I mean, now while it's never a good idea, I mean, because I don't believe somebody when they tell me something, I believe somebody when I see it.
Right.
So I'm not going to tell somebody I'm a great communicator. You just do it.
And that's exactly what Rudy's talking about here. He's saying, if you're going to say something, ground it in something that people can see, ground it in a fact. Go ahead, Rudy.
Exactly. So to better be able to answer that first question we talked about, if I got an estimate from your competitors at the same price, you know, why should I go with you? Why are you the one that's going to help me the most with this? Well, to better answer that question, it's important to establish your unique value proposition, your purple cow. So what truly makes you different? Why should someone buy from you? Or even better, why should someone pay more for your service as opposed to the others? Because we want to be a premium service. We want to be a premium contractor. We want to be able to offer our service at a better price, or at least a much better value. So here's rule number one. 2 rules I want to follow when we're building this out. Rule number 1 is you can't say what everyone else is saying. It's got to be different. It has got to be different. If you sound like everybody else, you are fitting in and you're failing. So like I said, that quote before is, you're either remarkable or you're invisible. Make a choice. So 2 rules to stand out. Number 2, rule 2 is you've got to make sure you follow the law of credibility. Now, what is that? I have a quote here. It's by Jerry Vass, and he's an expert sales trainer. He wrote the book Soft Selling in a Hard World. That's how Redmond Growth and Turner, we've built our own scripts following this exact system in Soft Selling in a Hard World. It's don't say anything you can't prove, be able to prove everything you say. So you want to make sure you're not sounding like everybody else, and you got to prove everything that you say. This is so important, because if you don't, if you have an on-time guarantee, that sounds beautiful. Hey, we have an on-time guarantee. Well, on its own, that sounds like puffery, because it's not backed up by any guarantee. Or you know, what if you don't show up on time? Then what? So if you don't show up on time, then you get the job. We waive $100 off the job. It's almost like, okay, I almost want you to show up late. Could you do that? I kind of like that idea. So I get a $300. That's when you know there's a guarantee that works real well. You know, speaking of Rogers Plumbing here, what we want to do is we want to build a comparison chart and give you the tools to use this comparison chart in your sales process and in your branding. And Rogers Plumbing here, I stole this comparison chart because I really like it. This is something people say all the time, but he did something different. It's like a customer satisfaction guarantee that has an actual guarantee. It's going to show up here, but it says happy today or you don't pay. Okay, well, I mean, I'm not going to ask you to do a poor job, but you know, if I'm not happy, I'm okay with not paying. That suddenly brings the ultimate peace of mind for any customer. If I see a plumbing company here in Tulsa that does that, I'm calling them every time I have an issue. Not because I want to be a difficult customer and get everything for free, but I know that brings me the peace of mind that this person is going to take care of me because they want to make sure they get paid. And that's so important to me as a customer. Who can relate to that? Who even you're in the contracting business, when you're looking for other subcontractors or contractors or just any product at all, you want to make sure that you have peace of mind that this person is not going to just screw you over. Who can relate to that? Raise your hand. Who's ever had a sub that didn't show up on time and left you hanging in a really bad spot? All right, we have some liars here, but it's okay. I'll talk to you later. All right, so what we want to do is create a comparison chart for your business. Now, some of you may have already had this built out, and we're going to address that specifically. But what I want to make sure is that you guys can build your own comparison chart. So we have Bryce that just put a link there in the chat. Open that document, click File in the upper left corner.
Just do this. Just do this. If you want that document, just reach out to your coach and they'll send you one that's personalized for you. Don't worry about making a copy. If you want that document, just reach out to your coach and we'll send it to you.
All right, perfect. Well, here's what this document does a really good job outlining is just those 2 rules. You know, make sure you don't say what everyone else is saying, and you got to back everything up with a tangible factor guarantee. Secondly, when you're building a comparison chart like this, it's good to ask yourself some specific questions like, are there any unique processes your company follows? Are there any guarantees? How can I back up this guarantee so it actually is a real guarantee? Is there anything about the quality of your service or product that's actually better? You can't just say we have great quality, so use us. You know, something that Ryan here, I noticed on the call, they've actually implemented, they're with Surface Renew, they do tub and tile refinishing, and they've implemented an entirely new product or for their refinishing, and their refinishing actually lasts over 3 years. They can guarantee that. And then, no joke, the typical tub refinisher company is 6 to 12 months. I mean, that's a night and day difference. You're going to be saving yourself so much money by using that. And that's super important. So anything like that you can think of, you can't just say we have great quality. There's got to be a reason for it, very specific reason for it. Do you have more 5-star reviews than everybody else? Are you highly rated? Just talk about these things. So that's what you want to ask yourself. What I encourage you to do is, with the comparison chart, write out everything you can that comes to mind, and then walk through it with your coach to say, okay, which one of these things can I add a more of a tangible backup to this fact? How can I make it better? Help me, coach, with this. Which one of these are just not good? And they'll be honest with you and walk you through that. All right, next thing here is you have a unique value proposition established. Now what? This is so important, especially for those of you who've already had it established, and you can kind of see that, just like Harley said, kind of let it drift away and even forget what makes you so different and better than your competitors. And, other than creating a beautiful poster in your office with the comparison chart on it, how am I implementing this in my business? This is so important. You have to ask yourself that question. So first off, you can't implement it well unless you know it very, very well at the back of your hand. So you've got to learn it and learn it very well as a business owner. You can't expect your team to know it unless you know it well. Secondly, you want to make sure all of your marketing and branding is just submerged with this unique value proposition. Is your website clear about your competitive advantages? 3, you got to place this comparison chart on your one sheet, and you have to use it. We'll probably have another session that goes really into detail about how to use a one sheet, what a one sheet is. But it's very, very common for someone to just have a one sheet, just a standard 11 by 8.5 sheet, looks nice, feels nice, hand it to a customer and run off the other way and hope they read it. No, you've got to walk them through that comparison chart and explain to them, look at them in their eyes and explain to them, hey, here's what makes us different. Or are you familiar with what makes Jonathan's enterprises so much better than everybody else? How familiar are you with us? And just walk them through that comparison chart. It's the only way they're going to understand what makes you different unless you deliberately tell them. So it's got to be on your website. It's got to be on your branding. You can put it on your truck wrap as well. Everywhere your marketing branding has got to be submerged with it. You got to learn it and learn it well, and you got to use that comparison chart on the one sheet. And then 4th, you have to make sure your team knows this comparison chart. They know your unique value proposition, and it's the only way for this to benefit you beyond benefit the company beyond just your interactions with customers. Your team has to know it very, very well. And that's why it's so important to have it incorporated into your sales process. Because on this next slide over here, this is so powerful. I'm just gonna say it. Price is the only consideration in the absence of value. Price is only ever an issue in the absence of value. So what does this mean for you? Well, how is your unique value proposition implemented directly into your sales process? Kind of like Robert just said, and he's bragging about Rogers Plumbing here. He opened up with a credibility statement. A technician walks into the home. Hey, I've been a plumber for X amount of years. Here's my license. Check it out. Look it up. Actually, let's look it up together right now. Well, maybe that's a little too far, but it's okay. You know, you've got to be different. You've got to really emphasize what makes you different. The only reason someone will ever pay more for your service than your competitors' low bid is because there's a higher perceived value. Let that sink in. There is a higher perceived value, therefore they're going to be paying more for your service. That is so important. You've got to make sure your pricing is right where it needs to be, because you do a really, really good job emphasizing that. So there's not going to be any perceived value unless you're intentional about deliberately telling your customers about what makes you different. There you go.
That's really good, Rudy. I appreciate you sharing that. Real quick, before we open it up for any questions that may be there, Roger, I wanted you, if you could unmute your mic just briefly. So what I hear people, a lot of our clients talk about is like, man, how can I get my guys in the field to actually do this? Like, how can I get them to follow this process? Like, I know what makes me stand out. And as the owner, I can sell to anyone. You know, of course you can, because you built the company, you know your value, you know how to interact with customers. So Roger, I wanted you to share briefly, just real briefly, on your training process of when you get a new plumbing tech coming in, and they're coming from your competitors, they're coming from all over the place. They're coming from guys that don't require them to do what you require them to do in terms of communicating your unique value to the customer. What do you require your guys to do once they're on staff with you in terms of training them in that credibility statement?
Yeah, so ultimately, they're no different than any of us. So it's all about seeing is believing, right? So they've got to actually witness firsthand, or they've got to, do something and actually physically see that it works. Basically, it requires them to get out of their comfort zone a little bit. And something I say a lot is your greatest rewards are going to come from those moments when you step a little bit out of your comfort zone. So yes, we'll have everybody in the room and we'll role play it through. If I've got somebody new that I'm onboarding is, I want them to witness what everybody's credibility statement, what that sounds like. And they're all unique. We're not building robots here. We want it to be, conversational. We want it to be their words, because they're more apt to not only remember it, but to own it. And that's the important thing about it. You're never going to use your credibility at the same moment in time on every service call that we go to. But I've got a sheet that is printed out that everybody goes by as far as giving credibilities. And credibilities are not only personal credibilities, but they're company credibilities also. Because you've got to look through it the lens of the consumer. And, we're all consumers too. And there's always these unanswered questions. If you're meeting someone for the first time, whether to do service at your home, or if you're out there to purchase something, let's just take tires, for example. And this guy's telling you all about these tires, how they're the latest and the greatest, but yet they're not a brand you've ever been associated with. And somewhere in the back of your mind, you're like, does this guy really know what he's talking about? Why should I believe him? So basically, we're wanting to, the phrase that we use is settle their anxieties. We're wanting to put them to ease that they not only made the right choice by picking up the phone and calling us, they made the right choice, or we have the right person out there to perform the work to meet their expectations moving forward. So it's really, it seems like eternity when these guys are first learning it, but it's only 20 seconds. It's only 25 seconds at most. And I put a clock on it just to prove it to them.
That's really good.
Yes. It takes a while. Typically, it's a huge culture shock for guys that come on board here. It's a purpose that I have them ride around with techs that practice this. And Each one of them do it different. I've got one guy, he's very unscripted. In other words, he makes it very conversational and he works it in through his communications with the clients. But then there's some guys, and I'm kind of one of those guys. I don't hesitate. I'll put the brakes on and I'll take control of the service call and I'll slow things down. So, before we move forward, before I take the time to diagnose things, if I could just take a moment, just real quick, just to share a little bit about myself, so you're comfortable that I can perform the work that you need done today. Basically, I've been in the trade for X number of years, working in homes just like yours. This is a repair that I've repaired many, many, many times, but it's still important for me to diagnose exactly what's going on, so I can give you not only a correct price in writing, but any options that may be available to you also. Does all that sound fair? They're not going to say no.
That's really good. Roger, I appreciate you sharing that. And here's the thing I like about what Roger said is that it's not like you have to train your team to do this whole big pitch presentation that's going to be more than 5, 10, not even 2 minutes. He said 25 seconds, 30 seconds. Just take the time, slow things down, get control of that interaction with the customer by saying, hey, just before we move forward, I know there's a lot of plumbers out there that you can choose from. I know that there's a lot of other tub refinishing companies that you can choose from. I know there's a lot of home remodeling companies that you can choose from. But are you aware of what kind of separates us, why customers love working with us? Well, here's just a few quick reasons. Number one, happy today or you don't pay. We're going to make sure that you're fully satisfied with the work we do at the price we do it for. And if you're not satisfied by the time we get done with the project, we're not going to be wanting to even charge you for it. Second thing is we're on time. And if we're ever not on time, if there's ever a delay, we go ahead and take a discount off. It's these credibility statements that are grounded in fact, that are grounded in reality. And as techs just take 20 seconds, 25 seconds while they're interacting with the customer, it makes a huge difference. Why? Because no one else is doing that. No one else is doing that. It gives the customer more information. It builds trust, which allows them to spend more dollars with you because they're like, oh, I know what I'm getting whenever I sign up with this guy. The other guys, they just come here, they look like a mess. The interaction's awkward. They just give me a price and tell me that's how much it's going to be. I feel like I'm out of the loop. I don't know anything about plumbing. I don't know anything about HVAC. They're just giving me a price and I guess, maybe I'll go for it, but I'd really like a second opinion. You don't run into any of that whenever you communicate your unique value proposition to the customer. Doesn't take long. We're not asking your text for too much. 25 seconds. You've got to communicate it. So appreciate you sharing on that, Roger.
Sure.
I just want to briefly open it up for any questions. Anyone struggling to identify, hey, I don't know what my unique value proposition is, or I don't know how I would translate this in my business. Like, how do I get my text to do it? Any questions like that? If you do have a question, you can just unmute your mic and speak. Okay, awesome. So here's what I want to do, just to get the kind of juices, the creative juices flowing before we go today. I want to call on a few people. Mr. Josh Doyle. Hey,
Hi.
buddy.
How you doing?
I want to challenge you. I'm putting you on the spot. I'm going to put a couple other people on the spot, so get ready.
Sounds good.
Can you give us one of the unique value propositions, one of the statements that separates you? First, give us the name of your company, where you're located, what you do, and then what's one unique value proposition that separates you?
Oh man. Okay. We're in Parker, Colorado, Doyle Plumbing. Man, you really did put me on the spot. I think one of the main things that separates us is that from beginning to end, we always make sure that our customer is 100% taken care of. And that goes for every single call we ever go on. So we've never let anyone down yet. So that's kind of the way that we always make sure that everyone's happy.
Josh, I want to give you some feedback here that may be helpful.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot. That's a great statement. Our customers are always satisfied.
Yeah, that's true.
But how am I going to know that's true if I've never worked with you before? Just one step further with that statement that you could say is our customers are 100% satisfied, and you can validate what I'm saying by checking out our 200 5-star reviews that we have on our Google business listing. I don't know if you have 200. How many Google
300. So
300. Boom. I love it.
even better.
So that's what we're talking about. That's
Yeah.
exactly what we're talking about is,
Right.
hey, we really do so much better. Our customers really are always satisfied. But it seems like a lot of people are saying that. So how could we ground that to make that more powerful? Our
Yeah.
customers are 100% satisfied. And we can attest to that by our over 300 5-star Google reviews. If we've been able to deliver 5-star service to over 300 people here in Parker, we know that we can deliver that to you today. Okay, I want to call on Team McCreary. Team McCreary, how are you doing?
We're great.
Dude, I love those glasses, by the way.
I can see.
You definitely, the both of you guys have awesome glasses. You definitely win. You get cool points
our
for
unique
the
value. We're gonna make all our technicians wear them.
That's our UVP.
Okay, you know what? I don't know if they're joking or not.
No,
But
that's
that's
a joke, but I just say, hey, you know what? If you're not thrilled, you won't be billed. And then
Gosh.
check out our over 400 5-star reviews on Facebook.
We're getting into a competition now. Come on. We're getting into a competition now. So if you're not thrilled, you won't be billed.
Yeah,
I just love that. And here's the thing, guys. I know that they were joking about the glasses. I've got one client, the way that they do their Purple Cow, they put hashtags on their plumbing trucks. So do you guys remember when the whole like free Britney thing was going on? Like Britney Spears was like locked in home arrest. Don't know if you guys were paying attention to that. Most of the world was. And so it doesn't. So this one of my clients, Spot on Plumbing in Tulsa, they literally put hashtag free Britney on their plumbing trucks. And as they're going around town, they were getting calls from people saying, you guys are the free Britney guys, right? They don't care about Britney Spears. They're not passionate about freeing Britney. Why do they do it? Because people are paying attention to it and it makes them stand out. So that's awesome. Okay, John Dossie, I'm going to call on you. And I know you're brand new to this, but could you unmute your mic? And just because we met, I know you've got something here. What's something that causes you to stand out from all your competitors? What's a unique value proposition statement?
Well, that's a hard one. I mean, honestly, never really thought about it other than that I work for the manufacturers that makes everything that we do. We have 15 years of experience outside of my business that every one of my guys have actually worked for manufacturers. That's a great question.
So I got one for you. We are the leading, and we are really the only nitrogen and compressor service business in the United States.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
There's
you're right.
literally no one else that is as skilled in service that does what we do. We are the only one. That's going to make you stand out.
It does, 100%.
So
100%. That's a great statement.
Yeah.
And that's something that we really don't push. We don't push that, and we should. We should push that.
Yeah.
Very much so.
And I appreciate you guys letting me call on you. I want to call on you guys just because I know it's like a group dynamic and no one really wants to be put on the spot, but you guys have really great substance, great stuff to share that I just want other people on the call to hear. So guys, if you do want that document, you can either just send a message of how to create your unique value proposition. Just type in me to the chat, just type in me. If you want that document that Bryce posted earlier, he gave instructions of how to create your own in the chat. Sometimes people get confused by how the Google Sheets work. And so if you're not, you can just go to the chat. He has the instructions of how to make your own. But your coach can also give that to you. Guys, so happy to have you on the call here. we're going to go ahead and end. And John, I'll send you that document. And guys, let's have an awesome, awesome week.